Have you ever wondered why people have projects for months, but end up cramming all the work into the last week to just about make the deadline? This is an example of Parkinson's Law in action. So what exactly is it? Parkinson's Law states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. So if you give yourself 2 months to finish a project, it'll take you 2 months. Give yourself 6 months to get in shape, and it'll take you 6 months. Part of the reason is because if you are ahead of schedule, then the temptation for procrastination is greater, so you don't tend to keep up that electrifying pace from a strong start. But remember, it doesn't mean that the amount of work you actually need to do changes. The principle doesn't just apply to work, but also to everyday tasks. Take doing the laundry, for example. If you have all day to do it, how often are you done with it before lunchtime? Alright, so now we have a pretty good idea of what Parkinson's Law states. But where did it come from and how much truth is in it? It was described by Cyril Northcote Parkinson, a British naval historian, author and economist, who initially described the law in an article published in The Economist in 1955. The article discussed a woman sending a postcard. In it, he described how the surrounding tasks, like finding the paper, identifying the address, and fetching her glasses, took longer than the time to actually write the postcard. This is something that most people have experienced, seemingly trivial tasks taking up time that could be used to complete the actual main task. The important bit then is how can we use this law ourselves? Since a lot of it comes down to deadlines, using these can help. In particular, accomplishing smaller tasks within a shorter time frame, called time boxing. For example, rather than writing a book in 6 months, you could aim for a chapter every week or a certain number of pages per day. These smaller goals then add up towards that ultimate goal. Shortening the overall deadline is another obvious answer. For example, in this case, you could set your own deadline before the official one. But bear in mind that this works best with tasks that you've done before or tasks that you know how much time is actually needed to do them. Linked to this is to not push back the deadline if you are lucky enough to be the one deciding it. You'll be surprised how much you can get done even when things seem impossible. Using techniques like the Pomodoro Technique and counting how much time a particular task takes can help guide this process. But it can also be a technique that is useful to keep you focused. It's typically done in 25-minute bursts of work, followed by a 5-minute break. You then repeat this 4 times, before having a longer break. The other important thing to remember is that work generates motivation, which then helps you to do more work. You might not feel like doing work, but if you use techniques like the Pomodoro Technique to get started, then you'll likely find it easier to keep going. Being aware of Parkinson's Law is a big benefit, and to take full advantage of it, it's best to combine it with other principles, such as Pareto's principle or the 80-20 rule, which states that most of your results come from only a small proportion of your actions, and the 5-second rule, which will help you to actually execute those actions.